Namaste, everybody. Haribo. Welcome to our Happy Man channel. And we're always bringing you some information that is quite valuable. If you take it, apply it to your life, it will benefit you greatly. So today's topic is, what is it? Somebody wrote Enlightenment and Samadhi. Yeah. Like I say, we're answering questions or applying to interests that people have. We have many viewers and they're coming to us with questions or, can you speak about this topic or that topic? So that's how we're choosing what to speak about. So enlightenment and samadhi, interesting topics. I will first offer my respects to my spiritual master, Siddhasarupananda Paramahamsa and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. So enlightenment, what does that mean? A lot of people think it's some, let's just say, some experience of lights or bliss or entering into another dimension entirely, etc. We learn from our Vedic scriptures that there's in the material world the gross physical dimension and then the subtle astral dimension, both on the material plane, but two different parallel, and not universes, but places. So the astral dimension is that subtle material energy. A lot of people, when they enter the astral dimension, maybe it's through some, injury or some great traumatic trauma in their life or something, and they pop out of the body. We were speaking once before about clinical death. And the person goes out of his body and is able to see his body and what is going on there. If he's in the astral dimension. So some people consider this to be enlightenment. There are some, usually native tribe practices. They're called religions, but they're practices where this is the goal, to go into this astral dimension, to travel there. And they use, different hallucinogenic drugs to try to achieve this. Mescaline is one that they use from the cactus, peyote, and etc. But that's not enlightenment. When we speak about enlightenment, this is actually far from that. So in the Vedic understanding of enlightenment, you're in the light of knowledge. See, there's two situations, knowledge and ignorance. So just accumulating a lot of material knowledge keeps you in the darkness of ignorance to real spiritual life, spiritual truth. So you may be the greatest scholar, materially speaking, but still be in ignorance on who you are, what is spiritual life, etc. So when we talk about enlightenment, we're talking about in the light of spiritual knowledge. And, some of the so-called yogis, they try to go out of the material dimension into the spiritual sky where there's no material energy. And the spiritual sky is an effulgent sky. Spirit is light. See, the symptom of the soul in the body is there's light in the body. You look at a person's eyes when they're alive, and there's a light behind there. But when the person leaves the body, then the eyes go dark, so to speak. So this seems to be the goal of some yoga paths, to enter in this ocean of light. It's called the Brahma Jyoti. And they consider that the highest enlightenment. See, we're spiritual sparks. We're tiny sparks of spiritual energy, spiritual light. So when that spark, who we are, enters into this ocean of light and merges with this light, they consider that to be the perfection. And they use the example, if you remove a drop of water from the ocean, that drop is an individual drop, but when you put it back into the ocean and it merges with the ocean, now there's no longer any individuality left. So how do you find that drop? It's gone. It's merged in the totality of the ocean. So their concept is like that. The spirit, soul, spiritual spark, merges into this Brahman light, Brahman effulgence, and there is no more individuality. And they say that is enlightened. But those who are truly enlightened, in other words, understand the absolute truth in its various dimensions, will understand that this is partial enlightenment. And beyond this merging into this Brahma Jyoti, there's another whole dimension in the spiritual world called the Vaikuntha world, where there's spiritual planets. And the people residing on those planets have spiritual forms, not material forms like we have. See, we have a material form that covers us, the spirit soul. But in the Vaikuntha world, those forms are spiritual forms. The people have their eternal spiritual forms. And so there is where the nature of the soul can be exercised of activity, of love, of devotion, of service, of happiness, etc. But it's all on this absolute spiritual platform. There's no negatives, it's all positives. There's no temporary nature, it's all eternal. And everything there is living. There is no death, there is no birth, etc. And the relationships there are the relationships that actually fulfill our need for relationships. And ultimately, there is the Supreme Soul, and the relationship with the Supreme Soul is the predominant relationship in the spiritual world. And that is where the ultimate perfection of life is, cultivating, developing, and moving into this eternal, loving relationship with the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Lord. That is true enlightenment. So the person understanding that will understand this partial enlightenment, which is promoted as being the ultimate, isn't. It's just a partial degree of enlightenment. And it doesn't really satisfy the needs of the soul for activity, for relationships, and all the things that the soul needs. So they do not set that as the goal. Samadhi, there's two different concepts of samadhi. The word samadhi actually means trance. That's how the word can be translated. So if one merges into this Brahman effulgence, they're described as being in samadhi because they're just in this trance of oneness with this spiritual ocean. You could say the drop of ocean that merged into the ocean is in samadhi. It's just lost in this ocean of water. So the soul merged into this Brahman effulgence is lost in this ocean of lighting. Therefore, that is seen as samadhi. And one can merge and then come back out and merge. So this is something that the yogis may do. The mystic can merge and then come out and merge and come out again, go up, go down, so to speak. Oh, he entered into samadhi. So they're in this trance-like condition. But on the higher level of understanding samadhi, it's when the individual soul is so immersed and focused on, meditation on, and love for the Supreme Soul that they are in this trance of love. Now, it doesn't mean they're spaced out and staggering around and, like an intoxicated person, but it means they're in this trance of always thinking of, remembering, and loving the Supreme Lord. Their devotion is always activated and constantly developing. And this is the highest level of samadhi. So, is that desirable? It is absolutely desirable. And again, those who have full knowledge of this spectrum, they are not interested in this lower class of samadhi, this lower level of samadhi. They're interested in the pure absorption with the Supreme Lord in loving devotion. So the bhakti yoga process actually is the process that can bring one to this pure level of samadhi. And that is what we're always recommending to people. Why work so hard to achieve the lower level when you can achieve the higher level with much less effort? It's the real nature of the soul. It brings us back to our complete self-realization, our complete function, and therefore, this is what is promoted by the highest level of saints, sages, masters, teachers, and incarnations of the Lord. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of insight into this, enlightenment samadhi subject. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Haribol. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be satisfied. Everybody wants to feel love. We need these things. And so the easiest way to actually fulfill these desires and needs is to regularly hear and chant the holy names. Chant these mantras. So let's all do that now. Adepo Nitai Go Nitai Go Haribo Haribo Nitai Go Nitai Go Haribo Adebo Nitai Go Nitai Go Haribo Gauranga Gauranga Nitai Go Gauranga Nitai Nitai Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Moana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Moana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohan Gopala Govinda Rama Gopala Madana